Do I believe in the dog man? To be perfectly honest with everybody, the answer is no. I believe in the paranormal, yes, absolutely. And I have a very healthy respect for it all, which is why you rarely hear me have any stories about ghosts or demons on this channel. Frankly, I'm afraid of them. So when the reports of dogman sightings came in from Taylor, Mississippi, and I found out that there was actual TV news footage talking about the problems that the people in Taylor were having, I jumped at the opportunity to talk with Skip, the lineman in the story. To give you some background, Skip is a friend of a friend. A guy named David Dunbar, who I've known for a few years, contacted me when he subscribed to the Dark Waters channel. David and Skip go back 20 years, so in my mind it was all good. I trust David, David trusts Skip. It was a real simple solution to the problem. I can talk to Skip. So Skip and I had a Skype conversation when it was time to talk about his experience. He presented it. We went back and forth, and I had many questions, and then I created the Mississippi Dogman video that you all have listened to. By the way, if you haven't seen it, take a look in the description below, and the Dogman video is there. Talking to Skip, he claims that I nailed it 100% when it comes to his experience. The sounds, the exact layout of what happened, I was able to accurately paint a picture of what he experienced. So for you guys who haven't listened to that, go ahead and take a listen. Anyway, in that Skype conversation, Skip left an invitation for me to come to Oxford, Mississippi, then travel to Taylor, Mississippi with him right before sundown. My encounter starts with that invitation. Like I said, I was not a true dogman believer. I acknowledge that people are having encounters with something, but I have to see these things for myself. So I left on a Friday, headed to Oxford, Mississippi, and 5 cigars later, I was checking into the Super 8 motel. Yes, this is a low-budget operation, more of a micro-budget type thing going on right here. I checked the mattress on the bed for bugs, looked under the bed for dead bodies, and went straight to sleep. I was meeting Skip for breakfast that next morning, so I needed some rest. We met that morning at a place called Big Bad Breakfast. He was a few minutes late, but nothing to be upset about. I was excited and was on my third cup of coffee by the time he arrived. We talked and talked, ate breakfast, and at first the conversation was kind of slow. You see, Skip is a northern Mississippi boy, and I'm more of a city boy from New Orleans. So it took a little time for he and I to gel. However, once we started talking about the Dark Waters channel, Skip really opened up. He wanted to know about many of the encounters that I have on the channel, and he wanted inside baseball on how I met these people. 20 minutes later, Skip and I were sitting there laughing like old childhood friends. And things were going well until the conversation pivoted towards his dogman encounter and how we were going to visit the site. Skip's body language immediately changed. He started to get real tense, and he kind of clammed up, and I asked him, I said, "Are you okay?" He strained through his teeth saying yes, and we set a time for us to meet later that evening. I returned to the Motel 8, talked to my girlfriend on the phone, watched a little TV, and took a nap. We were supposed to be meeting at 3:45. Skip arrived at 4 o'clock, and we started the 15-minute ride down to Taylor, Mississippi. Old Taylor Road is a 2-lane highway. 1 lane going north, 1 lane going south. This roadway is kind of spooky in the daytime, so I can imagine how it was at night for him. The trees and bushes kind of overhang to the side of the road, to the point to where if you stuck your hand out the window, you can actually touch one of the tree branches. We rode along the roadway very slowly, and it was pretty much no traffic. The only thing that passed us was a funeral procession, and in true Mississippi tradition, we pulled to the side of the road and let the funeral procession pass, paying our respects to the dead. We talked as we rode down the road, and we even stopped at private properties where people had recently had dogman experiences. We didn't go in and talk to anyone, but we stopped and looked over the property. Right at about 5:45, we made our way to the section of road in which he had his encounter. To describe it, at this point, there's a slight bend in the road as it makes a sharp curve about 200 to 300 yards up ahead. We stood there in the middle of the road, talking about his experience and him telling me about some other things that he heard about that happened down at Sardis Lake. The sun was starting to go down behind the trees, and it was just starting to get dark. Now, guys, Dark Waters, I am not an outdoors man at all. The most I do in the woods is go to the gun range with my friends who are Marines and kind of fire a few rounds down range. But as far as hanging out in the woods, that's not something that I do. However, my senses are very acute, and I like to believe that I have a very, very, very good radar when it comes to danger. Standing there in the road as the sun started going down, I did start feeling that it was a dangerous situation, but nothing had happened that really made me nervous thus far. We stood there talking, and I watched the sun fall behind the trees. Skip was talking a little bit more about his encounter as the sun set behind the trees and it turned dark. I don't believe that Skip noticed that everything had gone quiet. Prior to things going silent, the area was very lively. There were crows on the power lines squawking. There was a dog in the background. You could hear him barking a ways off. And just the normal sounds of the forest. But things went deadly quiet. When I say quiet, deadly quiet. Almost like in a vacuum. Skip didn't seem to notice it at first. He just kept talking and talking and talking. Up on the power lines were two black crows. Could barely still see them as the sun set behind the trees and it got dark. They just sat there staring off into the woods, almost like they were looking at something. Looking up at the birds, I got an ominous feeling. I turned my attention back to Skip to continue to listen to what he was saying. That's when the two crows took off flying away, squawking like they were crazy, almost as if to warn us that something was coming our way. By now, Skip was feeling it too, because he started backing away and moving towards the truck. That's when we heard it. The sounds of something running through the brush. And when I say the sound of something running through the brush, when we initially heard it, it had to be far away, but it was loud. Skip called it. He said, "They're coming. They're headed our way." I said, "What's headed our way?" "They're headed our way." He quickly started walking back towards the truck as the sound got louder and louder. Now, to describe this sound, guys, I have a cousin who played professional football in the NFL, and I've been to the combine. One of the most interesting things about being at the NFL combine is to watch the linemen run, because these guys are big 300, 400-pound men who run the 40-yard dash in like 5.5 and 5.1 seconds. But as they run, their feet make a tremendous amount of noise as they run. The sound that I was hearing was the sound of maybe 4 or 5 of those NFL offensive linemen running through the leaves of the woods, but it was far off. It still was loud. Skip quickly walked back to the truck, positioning himself inside the driver's side door, 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot in the truck. The sound was coming towards that driver's side, so I circled around to the passenger side, opened the door, and stood there. Looking back, I should have put 1 foot in the truck like he did, but I didn't. The sounds got louder and louder and louder, and you could hear limbs and branches breaking. No breathing, no nothing, but we knew something was coming. Skip started to call a distance. 300 yards away, we could hear the sounds. 150. What I hadn't noticed was that he left the truck running the entire time we were there. 100 yards, 50. The sound stopped. Skip looked over the truck at me and said, "You need to get in." Just as I started to put my foot in the open door, we heard the howl. Now again, like I said, I'm not an outdoorsman, so I can't 100% say that this wasn't a pig or it wasn't something else, but this sounded like a howl of a werewolf on the Sci-Fi Channel. It was loud and it was powerful, and it actually scared the out of me. I stood there frozen. My brain wanted me to get in the truck. It told me to hop in the truck and get in, but I was frozen. I stood there, guys. I stood there staring directly into the woods. It was almost like the sound made my nervous system reset, and the signal wasn't going from my brain to my body to move. So I stood there. To be honest with you, I'd never been that afraid in my life. I've never been in a situation where I panicked and just could not move. As I stood there, I saw the truck pulling off out my peripheral vision. Out the corner of my eye, I could see Skip speeding down the road with the passenger door still wide open. Within seconds, he rounded that curve and was out of sight. Now, I'm standing alone in the dark on the opposite side of the road from whatever these creatures are, with nothing there but space and opportunity. For those of you who don't know, Satori is a time when your mind, body, and spirit all are one. Athletes experience this, and people who are in danger experience it as well. It's a sensation of time slowing down. That is exactly what I was caught in. Satori is something I'm very familiar with from being a bodybuilder. However, this time I was unable to take advantage of it. Time was going slow, and I was standing there. It felt like forever as I stood there staring across the road, wondering if something was coming out of those bushes. Now, I'm a big guy. I've had a few too many hamburgers in my life at this point in time. So running is not an option. I know this. My brain told me that we can't run. I looked down the road to see how far Skip had gone, and his taillights were no longer in view. He had clearly made that turn. So I was alone, standing on the opposite side of the road from what I assume is a Dogman. I did not see it, but I heard it. I heard the howl, and I heard it coming through the bushes. Standing there was nothing for me to do, so I raised my fist as if punching the Dogman was going to be an option. But what am I supposed to do? Time passed, and I couldn't tell you how long it was, and I started to hear the sound of the pickup truck screeching to a halt. In the back of my mind, I was like, good. Skip has figured out that I'm not in the goddamn truck. And then I heard the tires squealing as the truck turned around, and I could hear the engine revving as he was coming back towards me. The headlights from the truck lit up the street and the brush across from me, and something big and black moved from left to right. Skip slammed on the brakes, stopping the truck right in front of me, yelling, "Get in, get in!" But I wasn't going around to the passenger side. I hopped into the bed of the truck and he pulled off. The conversation that happened after that was very, very heated. I was pissed that he left me. He was pissed that I was chicken enough to stand there while he left me. We argued back and forth for a few minutes, and then actually we started laughing because both of us were scared out of our mind. When we got back to my motel room, we just sat there and had drinks. And I told him, I said, man, I'm not sure what the hell that was. He said it was the Dogman. You heard the howl. You heard it coming through the bushes. I told him I didn't see it though. He said, did you want to see it? I really pondered this question for a few minutes before I answered. Truth is, I don't think I really wanted to see what that was. Based on what I heard, the little flash of blackness that I saw, and the size of the whatever it was moving from left to right, I don't think I ever want to see a Dogman. Ever in my life. Okay, guys, so that was my Dogman experience that I had out in Taylor, Mississippi with Skip. Just to give you guys a little inside baseball and let you kind of know a little bit more about what happened. I'm never going there again. Like, that experience kind of made me question the whole visiting the site of incidents that people claim have happened. Did I expect something to be there? Yes, I did. But did I expect something to come running through the bushes sounding like the refrigerator Perry, knocking over trees? No, I did not. And it's kind of difficult to explain to you guys the sound. The sound of the howl. It's very, very difficult to explain what it does to your body physically. I've watched some Dogman videos where they talk about infrasound and growls and roars and what they do to you. it freezes you. It's almost like getting hit in the back of the head with a stick, and you're foggy is the best way to describe it. And what I'll say to you guys who listen to this channel who say, hey, I want to go out and go look for the dog man, I would say don't. I would say leave that the hell alone. I'd rather see you go ghost hunting or exercise a demon or go skydiving or deep sea spear fishing and looking for giant octopuses than going out and messing with this damn dog man. Because I can imagine that had something stepped out of those bushes within that probably 2-minute time span that Skip was away from me, it could have easily came across, killed me, and drug me off, and he would have never found me. So I just want you guys to be careful. It's not all fun and games. It's mean out here in these streets. And don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and also share this video with your friends, because sharing is caring, and we all care. And I will see you guys on the next episode. I'm working diligently to get out these next set of videos. I have 3 Bigfoot encounters coming. Then I pivot back to some real crazy horror stories that I got from a gentleman here locally. So I'm trying to keep it working and keep you guys happy and make sure that you have enough content to keep you scared all night long. I'll see you soon.